the Snyder Cut still dominates the news of the comic book world. And without much to talk about currently, with no new films to be released thanks to the COVID crisis, I thought I would once again join the conversation surrounding the release of the Snyder Cut movement. So whilst many fans rejoice and pat themselves on the back as the news was released that Zack Snyder will be able to release his cut of the Justice League, I'm here to say that the Snyder Cut isn't really going to be the Snyder Cut, and I think will either be a great film or a bad film. I know, a pretty shocking take to be honest, isn't it? So before I just jump straight into this video, please may I ask you subscribe to the channel and please leave a like if you are enjoying the content, and as always please leave a comment. What do you think about the news of the Snyder Cut being released, and do you think it'll be a good or a bad film? So first of all, let's address my first point. So okay, I reckon this will be a controversial opinion, but Snyder's real vision never really existed, and even after this version of Justice League is released, it still won't reflect Snyder's original ideas. However, it will be closer to his original ideas, compared to if he was able to release the film in 2017. Confused? Good. Let me explain. Okay, so after 2016's Batman vs Superman release, Justice League was being filmed basically immediately. Kind of an Infinity War Endgame scenario. There was little breakup between the two films and were essentially filmed back to back. A lot of rumours came out post Batman vs Superman. Warner Brothers were unhappy with the critical and financial takings of Batman vs Superman, and thus wanted Justice League to go in a different direction. Batman vs Superman ended on a pretty somber note, with our mains Batman and Wonder Woman pretty down the dumps. Superman had died, Lex Luthor had gone insane and spoke of a looming threat, and the message was very much the good guys have won the battle, but perhaps not the war. What I'm saying is there wasn't much to be happy about for our characters, so a continuation of the dark tone made sense. However, the first Justice League trailer was released to upbeat music, and our characters cracking jokes. Even Bruce Wayne was getting in on the action.
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
After the release of this trailer, it really did feel Warner Brothers had asked Zack Snyder to go in a new direction and lighten the fuck up with these superhero films, to which evidently Snyder obliged. Obviously Justice League was going to be somewhat of a course correction from the previous film's dark tones. Snyder has defended this though and has said that he always intended the films to be more lighter in tone as he progressed. However, I find this hard to believe as nothing has suggested that near the end of Batman vs Superman, that after the end of Batman vs Superman, that the tone would be lightening up. This film ended on a pretty somber tone, so why was there a need for the very next film to begin on a lighter note? Snyder has said he planned to kill Batman, and Darkseid was to take over the world, with the Nightmare sequence becoming a major plot point of the DCEU, so I doubt to see how things would have lightened up. The problem is, Snyder probably did have a lot of ideas of how things were to go before Warner Brothers stepped in and said Justice League need to be taken in a different direction. This seemed to have happened during filming, to which it seems Snyder obliged. Snyder has always made pretty dark films, which have little humour. I actually can't think of a Snyder film with much humour at all, and I refuse to watch Sucker Punch or Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, so I have no idea if these films are actual laugh riots, but I will not be watching them. So if Snyder was directing a film which didn't play to his strengths, I highly doubt what was made was being particularly good, so Warner Brothers pulled him off the project. The thing is, there could be a mixture of Snyder ideas and Warner Brothers tamperings on the footage Snyder was filming. However, I just don't believe Snyder ever got to begin his true vision, and during Justice League that vision became compromised and altered. However, I do believe Snyder Cut will be something truer to his original ideas, but not what he truly wanted when beginning the DCEU all the way back in 2013 with Man of Steel. A major part of why the Snyder Cut won't be the true Snyder Cut is because Zack Snyder has the benefit of hindsight. Now Zack Snyder has had 3 years to take a step back and look at what people have said about Justice League and his own films, the praise and criticisms. Snyder is able to make a film which can be the best it can possibly be to satisfy audiences. It's kind of like going into a test and already having the answers. What I am trying to say is Warner Brothers stepped in early on the Justice League, and I believe wanted the lighter tone for the film, compared to Snyder wanted to continue in his somber tone. If Snyder was allowed to proceed with his Justice League film without Warner Brothers always over his shoulder, perhaps it would have been darker and more to his truer vision. The only problem is Warner Brothers stepped in and wanted a lighter film, so it's not the true Snyder vision. This brings me onto my next point. Now the first 2 Snyder DC films were a mixed bag. Both films looked fantastic and had a definitive clear vision, mishmash of ideas, convoluted points, and bad characterization. There are plenty of aspects to like, and plenty to not about these films. Also at the time making Man of Steel, it came off the back of the incredibly successful Dark Knight trilogy, and Warner Bros pressed on with a darker take on Superman, believing this was the new trend. And I think we can all agree that this looked to be the way forward, with superheroes being dark, gritty, and fundamentally set in the real world. However, fans and critics all agreed after the release of Man of Steel, a darker take on the character was not what was needed. Batman vs Superman followed, which again was a continuation of the darker tone, and introduced a plethora of new characters with multiple plots in order to establish a cinematic universe. I do believe Zack Snyder and Warner Bros rushed out Batman vs Superman in order to play catch up to Marvel's already 8-year-long established cinematic universe. Instead of focusing on character development, Warner Bros focused on world building, leaving a fairly hollow plot. Once Justice League rolled around, Warner Bros clearly decided to point the finger at Zack Snyder for the film's poor critical and box office reception. Whilst it is unclear who wanted to make Batman vs Superman be a film which simply established the DC universe, I would hazard a guess this would have been Warner Bros looking to catch right up with Marvel Studios. However, Warner Bros took Zack Snyder off Justice League before Snyder's full vision could have been realised in its entirety. I like to believe Snyder did have a plan all along, even though his films have felt very reactionary, and when your film is reactionary, it's hard for the audience to connect with the plot or characters. Snyder's Justice League will definitely either be good or bad. As I previously said, it's as if he has the answers in front of him. Snyder can now pick and choose what to put in his Justice League and what not to take out. Over the years, Snyder has been saying a multitude of things which were to happen. In his Justice League, albeit we do not know if these are true. Over the years, fans and critics have criticised and praised these films for a number of reasons. Snyder is in an unprecedented position in which he can make a film now knowing what worked and what didn't. Directors don't have that luxury of knowing if their ideas and creation will be received well or not, but that is something I love about film. Although I don't like Snyder's DC films, I can respect them, because at least he tried something different. He didn't just make a cheery Marvel film and try to put his own stamp on these superhero films. Now Snyder can make a film which is basically just for the people who make enough noise. We will almost certainly see Darkseid and Harry Lennox as Martian Manhunter appear in this film, which is something I don't really want. Personally, I think these ideas are interesting, but have no place quite yet in the Justice League film. However, due to the overwhelming fan support, I am sure these ideas will appear in the final cut. Maybe I'm being a grumpy old man, but I don't think in the context of the plot do these ideas work. The art of film for me is to be able to create and take risks, to be able to tell a story which encapsulates your art. The idea of Snyder now going through his film and ticking off boxes off a checklist due to fan support or critical loathing does make me feel Snyder is being restrained. That is not the art of film, to be some production line of ideas which tested well or didn't. The art of film is to take risks, to stamp your own vision on the story. The Snyder Justice League film will almost certainly be good or bad, thanks to being able to learn from his mistakes and create a film fans were asking for. Or it could become a cluttered mess due to trying to keep too many different people happy and not using his own story, falling into the same old problems from his previous films in having very messy plots. The problem is now we can never truly know what Snyder was going for in his Justice League film, because there's been such fan input that will most certainly affect his decisions. For example, Snyder may not have put Darkseid in his theatrical cut of Justice League, but now because he's released the image and many fans have praised this decision, we will definitely see Darkseid in Justice League. However, Snyder probably never was going to put him in, but now due to fans inputting, he will be. So it's hard to say that this Snyder cut really will be his Snyder cut and not something more for the fans, which is perfectly reasonable. It's just I really wish we get to see his unfiltered ideas that are not fan-led. Hope you enjoyed this video. These are just some of my ideas and ramblings surrounding the Snyder Cut. I think it is great this is being released. However, I do truly believe this won't be a genuine Snyder Cut of his ideas. It will mostly just be everything he ever thought of smashed into the screen, and I think the whole thing will come off quite messy due to Snyder wanting to keep so many fans happy. But it will be interesting to see some of the ideas he had, but obviously if he actually got to release his theatrical version, I think things will be more chopped up. The film is rumoured to be 4 hours long, and obviously if he was going to release this in cinemas, an hour and a half of that would have been lost. So to say that this was the Snyder Cut to be released in cinemas is just completely wrong. But anyways, thank you for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.